So let's discuss the tactics that are derailing Southampton's season and find out how they've gone from this
In the box, away from a defender, shoots and scores for Southampton!
to this.
They've been gifted possession here. McBurney back to Joseph. Oh, what an emphatic finish that is.
Well, we'll pick up on that Calamitous goal later, but CJ, first of all, what is happening at Southampton?
Oh, honestly, Dan, if I had the answers, I probably would be in with a job as a manager. It started brilliantly for Southampton this season. Other than that, it's just gone downhill, really and truly. They've had teething problems. They've had a couple of different managers. End of the day, football's decided in both boxes, my guy. So if you're going to concede silly goals and you're going to not take the chances oppositions give you, you're going to be in issues. I see a side, whether they play a back four or a back three or a back five, however you want to define it, as poorly coached to a degree and have a lot of extremely poor deficiencies defensively. Simply put, they've got a lot of bad habits. Let's see what the last couple of games have said.
So, of course, their last 8 games don't make for pretty reading, especially if you're a Saints fan. They've got 4 losses, 3 draws, and a single win, and that was against League One Doncaster, so not the best form.
It's not the best form from Southampton. I actually believe, completely off topic, that this is their 50th year FA Cup anniversary. So I'm sure for Southampton fans, it was nice to obviously win against Doncaster. In the league, it's been woeful. You look at their possession stats, their open play chances, and every sort of creative metric. They're top in the championship, or they're at the top end. Defensively is where there's fragilities and where their issues are. They're shipping goals week in, week out. Football's a results-driven business, as you know, Dan. In the last 7 to 8 games, it hasn't been kind. They're winless in 7, 8 games. I do believe, actually, they've taken something like 9 points out of potential 20-odd, so they need to win and win quickly.
Well, let's jump into Southampton's formation then. I think what's clear is no one seems to really understand what the system is.
You're right, Dan, man. At the end of the day, you can play a back five. We all know, because of where Southampton are at the moment, they're trying to stop conceding goals. But it doesn't matter how many defenders you have if you've got bad defensive habits and nobody understands how their individual job ties into the collective. We're going to get into it. We've seen many chances that have gone unpunished. So before we kind of look at the tactics, I'd love to look at the game against Middlesbrough. Again, bad defensive habits. Look at the amount of numbers of players of Middlesbrough in the box. Look at the red shirts versus the yellow shirts. There's no way Middlesbrough should be getting a shot on target, let alone scoring. Look at this pass. If we just look at this pass, look, he's completely cut out every Southampton player. Not one person is looking over their shoulder. And I just want to bring it back slightly, if we could go back. Look at this ball in again. Not one Southampton defender is looking over their shoulders, and there's a lack of communication. It doesn't matter how many defenders you have. If you defend like this, you are going to concede a lot of goals, and 9 times out of 10 probably not win football matches.
And this doesn't seem like a one-off issue, does it? Because if we fast forward to Hull, we didn't see a goal from this moment, but it was essentially the same issue happening again, wasn't it?
Exactly. Again, not closing people down, not following runners. Fortunately for this, Southampton didn't concede, but again, old habits die hard. And I think every Southampton fan has seen week in, week out in the Championship that goals and incidences like this are now becoming all too familiar for the Saints.
So are you essentially saying that this is much more of a communication issue rather than a personnel issue? Because if we're looking at the amount of players that are camped in the box, you'd say that's good practice, but I guess it's the positioning and the space between the defenders that is so concerning, right?
Spot on. Again, communication is key. And then you look at these players, you look at someone like Harwood Bellis, he has been on the scene for a while, he's been capped by the country. Nathan Wood has also been in the Championship for a while. Again, as a back three, you need a leader of one of the centre-halves, and I can't see one. You look at Harwood Bellis, he's kind of on the half-turn rather than his body being a bit more square. He's kind of just focusing on his own job. If we look towards the left a bit more, there's a whole 2v1 opportunity. Now, as we know, the shot went wide, but again, had it have hit the target, Hull's players are actually in a better position to score from the follow-up versus Southampton actually clearing it. So again, it is about the formation, but it's more about the defensive willingness from the team, and simply put, how every individual player understands their job for the collective.
Southampton have got a reputation for playing out from the back, but in recent times, the concern with the fans mainly is the direction of those passes. If we look at the stats against QPR, the passes are very forward, very positive and very direct, and that's very different to the game against Hull, isn't it?
It's very different from the game against Hull, and it just shows you how topsy-turvy Southampton have been this season. As you mentioned with Kwasi, if you do not play it forward down his side, or if he's not probably at his best, then it does become sideways and backwards and square pegs in round holes, and they don't have any other solutions. We know they play out from the back. We know how high they score for possession-based statistics, but they don't have a plan B, and you're a sitting duck in this league if you do not have such.
Exactly that. And let's take a look exactly how passing at the back, if done wrong, can cause you serious problems, because it undid Southampton at the weekend.
As you can see, it's gone out to the left-hand side. It's played into the channel. Stop right there. This is what you can't do in the Championship. It's a nonchalant pass back. There's no real weight on the pass. And as you can see, it's slowly playing into danger. But I want to stop there because there's several phases. It's one thing playing out from the back and getting caught. It's another thing being out of position. How on earth that Ollie McBurney has found his way free in Southampton's box it's a crime, if I'm honest with you, in the Championship. So that's one thing looking at it via the highlights. It's another thing looking at it on the tactics board. And Danny, it's the level of mistakes happen in football, right? Mistakes happen, but it's probably a familiar feeling for Southampton to give away goals so cheaply. It's very reactive. There's several phases of play that could have been better. Now, again, playing out from the back is not a problem. It happens. The ball's obviously gone from here to here, obviously found its way to the left-hand side. And this is where the issues start developing. There's not just one singular point of person to blame. The ball's obviously progressed up the field from here to here. Now, this is the issue. The whole premise of playing all this way is to get it into this area so that either you can go down the other end, you can recycle it with your keeper, or you can progress play very much down this same hand side. Unfortunately, though, the pass from this left-hand side is not good enough. There's not enough weight on the pass. At the same time, Flynn Downs is not in the area he's supposed to be, because you would imagine Southampton have worked on this on the training ground. So there is an element of blind passes. Everybody knows their role. But between the quality on the pass and this midfielder in Downs not being there, it's a culmination of errors. Obviously, a straight under-hit pass has now found its way centrally. Hull have picked up on that. Even that, between Ollie McBurney and Cole, there's still time to rectify the error. And that would be what would annoy me if I was Southampton, because between that error happening, the kind of pause in what actually went down, and Joseph scoring, it's not on. And you can't get out of the Championship playing like that, full stop.
And really, it's opposition that have figured out how to stifle Southampton. And when they do that, there doesn't seem to be a plan B. And that is echoed by the fans. We're here with Jimmy from the Jimmy Cheese channel. Jimmy, welcome to the show. Talk to us about this tactical issue that Southampton seem to be having in the Championship.
So we've kind of found ourselves this year and last year with a back three or a back five at times, and we're having a lot of trouble progressing up the pitch and scoring goals, really, and it's also leading to a lot of defensive frailties where we're making one or two mistakes and then the opposition are straight on top of us, and they figured it out how to press these mistakes. Changing that style from a back three or five, getting a centre back off, putting more players up top who are working close together on that pitch gives us a bit of an opportunity. And that game, that was completely shown again against Hull this weekend. We were 2-0 down, having a rotten first half. He switches to back four in the second half, and we had a bit more attack on.
Jimmy, I've got a question. Just by looking at Southampton, right? You mentioned, you played a back five last year. You're doing it this year. Every time I hear Southampton fans speak, it's like they are excited when they change to a back four, but it seems like there's a reluctance. How much of that is purely down to the manager? Because as you mentioned, he's inexperienced. Or do you think there's anything above board, like influencing his decisions, whether that be personnel or anything around your club at this moment?
I think the idea of having three centre-backs is to help with any defensive frailties or mistakes that we might have. But I also think that by doing that, you're bringing on mistakes and frailties. If the ball's up the other end of the pitch a bit more, you're not going to be back playing it around at the back between the goalkeeper and things. But at the same time, I don't think that this is just the head coach's decision. I do think that now we're starting to see either players wanting to play a certain style of perhaps Russell Martin football, as people call it, or perhaps people above the head coach wanting us to play a certain style of football. I certainly think there's more to it than this is the best way that we have of winning a game, because it's clearly not, and we've seen that in our form recently.
Well, some compelling points and some proper insight there. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to keeping up with you on the Jimmy Cheese channel this season.
Thank you very much for having me on the show.
Well, change is needed at Southampton.
Indeed.
It's an unforgiving league, but there's no better place to make that change than at your noisy neighbours. It's Portsmouth versus Southampton in a huge derby match. Let's see how Southampton go there and fare for the rest of the season.